Hello and welcome to Protect and Prevent Podcast. My name is Opal Singleton, and this podcast is brought to you by Million Kids, millionkids.org. I hope that you will follow us on all of our social media and get involved. Sign up for our newsletter because the information we're going to give you could literally save a life. So today's podcast is called Financial Sextortion. These are words every parent should know, but never have to deal with it. So this is very, very important that we share this with you. You may have heard me talk about it in the past, but obviously it is not being talked about enough because at this writing, more than 40 young males have taken their own life because of financial sextortion. And the most frustrating part about the whole thing is that every parent, every grieving parent left behind has said, I have never heard the words financial sextortion. It is a new trend. In fact, I wrote my book about it. My book is called Digital Warfare's Our Kids on the Front Line. It is on Amazon and it's also on Kindle and at Million Kids. So financial sextortion is, I believe, the most heartbreaking crime on earth. As I said, more than 40 very successful young males across the U.S. have taken their own lives because they found themselves trapped as victims of financial sextortion. In almost every case, nobody seems to know about it. Our team at Million Kids, there are 8 of us, we get very, very frustrated. We really want to reach out to the faith-based community, especially, and get them to educate their parents. But it's interesting because so many of the clergy pull back. Well, our kids are good kids, and I don't want to scare them. Every one of these 44 boys or young males were good kids. Ages 13 to 19 is the age on there. So we at Million Kids are on a quest to be able to say, never again should this happen. Never again should a grieving family be left behind without their loved one. Can you imagine losing your child to a Nigerian scam farm or a Myanmar scam farm? And yet that is what is happening because nobody wants to hear about it. Well, that isn't going to help. I honestly feel like I can't sleep at night until we can get this word around the world. The crazy part about this is it's just simply a conversation. And it's a conversation every family should have. I mean, 100% every family should have that. So let me explain what happens. So now 70% of the world is connected by internet. That is what the book, Digital Warfare, Our Kids on the Front Line, that's what it's all about. In the last 3 years, the entire world became connected by 5G high-speed internet. And it came at the same time we had all these other bells and whistles that we take for granted each day. Things like geolocation software. People sitting in Nigeria can tell where you are if, for instance, you're on a dating site or one of those apps that have geolocation software. The primary countries that are the main offenders of this are Nigeria, Ivory Coast, Myanmar, Pakistan, Philippines, and many others. Right now, only 70% of the world is connected. But just think what's going to happen when that last 30% come on board. And they learn very quickly that the way you can make millions of dollars is to get an American teenager, especially an American male, to send a nude. 1 out of 6 males and 1 out of 7 females in America as teenagers, talking about teenagers here, have sent a nude online. And that has got to stop. I understand that in the past they got away with it. But the world is globally connected and we have artificial intelligence. Maybe the kid only sends something with the shirt off, but AI can create deep fakes. So this is why it is so important that parents understand this so you get a game plan. And that's what this podcast is all about, helping you get a game plan to educate your family. And when you're through with that, I hope you'll move on to your PTA, your church, and everybody else. Every parent in the world ought to be talking about this. So what happens is our young men are usually very, very successful young men. That's the first problem. Everybody says, well, we don't have to talk about that negativity because our kids are good kids. That's exactly how it's working. You see, it is the kids that are the good kids that have the biggest profile online. So what happens? People in poor countries sat down with their criminal groups or organized cartels, and they run profiles of our kids. And they do that because they want to make our kids think that whoever it is on the end of that conversation knows them. So if you ask a kid about this, they're going to say, oh, Mom, I'm going to know. Well, ask them, please. Ask them, how will you know? And their answer will be, well, I only talk to people I know or somebody that maybe knows them. And, that's exactly the pitfall with this whole thing. Every one of the 40-some young men were really, really fine kids. And several of them were brand new to social media. The one I looked at yesterday, he had only been on Instagram one day. And he had no understanding of what he was walking into. And so what happens is that they build a profile. And so they will come on to your child and they will look like somebody that your child knows. And so your child will not be suspicious. And on top of it, that person will pretend to also know some of your child's friends. So here's how it works. They run a profile of you and your child. And then they also go on to Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. And if your child's list of followers is not private, anybody can look like a friend of a friend. And so they start sending hot and sexy photos or images, or they start flirting, and they get your young person to send something back. And that's just exactly how it's done on the internet. 1,000,000 times a day, our kids think nothing of sending off some sort of risque image. This has to change because what happens is the minute that this cartel in Nigeria or Myanmar or Cambodia or Pakistan, they suddenly have your child's image because it was sent to them. And your child's life will become living hell. There is no American teenager in the world that is ready for this, okay? All of a sudden, hell rains down on them. Here's your nude photo, and here's your list of friends. You are a dead man. You are damaged goods. You are ruined. You will never be able to go back to school again. And I want you to send me $5,000 so that I won't share it with everyone you know. This kid just freaks out. They're trapped. And the whole thing is a big trap. Here's the thing. If you have that conversation beforehand, they are much less likely now to ever send anything out to someone they have never met in person because they start to understand how it works. And it's an important conversation. We need to put the wagging fingers away and sit down with our kids. We want to talk about the world changed. It's changed the last 2-3 years. Look at all the new technologies that have come out. Let's do this. Let's run our profile. Make it a family project. Okay, go online and see what you can learn about mom and dad or even grandma and grandpa. Are they on LinkedIn? Are there pictures of them out there? Does it show where they work? Does it show the building where they work? Has your home been on Zillow of late? Because if it is, they will show the kid his bedroom because it's still on Zillow. If your house has been on Zillow, get your realtor to go in and remove that offline. Okay, now you can't do it yourself, only realtors can, but get it off there. And, take a look at Google Earth. Did you know you can blur out your home on Google Earth? Do that, please. If you have any young kids in your family, Google all of them and see. Google their school. Google your high school students' school. Google all the information you can find out there that someone in Nigeria or Ivory Coast might be easy to gather up. And the reason I'm doing that is one of these victims in this case, before he took his life, he said, Mom, they knew everything about us. Now, he didn't talk to the mom. He left a note. But they had a picture of Mom and where she worked. They had a picture of his bedroom. The house had been on Zillow. They had a picture of him from school. And the kid just panicked. Well, let's get there first, Mom and Dad. I want you to make that a family project. Sit down and figure out what everybody can find out about you. Can they go on and find out all your followers on Instagram and TikTok and all the apps that you're on so that they can pretend to be a friend of a friend? The reason for doing that is that knowledge all of a sudden opens up a whole new world for your child. And they start to see how easy it is for a total stranger to look like their friend. Another thing I'd ask you to do is get a code word between you, including grandma and grandpa, because grandmas and grandpas get caught up in these, what they call grandkids scams, where somebody comes on and says, hey, I have your grandkid and I need to get some money for them and like that. Well, grandma and grandpa panic and they start to figure out how to do it. Well, let's get there before them. First of all, educate grandma and grandpa as part of your family get together. And then get a code word between all of you. That way, if your kid hears, well, I'm a friend of so-and-so and so-and-so, you can say, what's the code word? I recommend that your kid gets code words between them and their closest friends. That way they can say, okay, what's the code word? Or before I admit you as a friend, I will talk with them first because I don't admit somebody I don't know. And as we go forward in life, this is going to have to be the way it is because only 70% of the world is globally connected. With all that exclusive software we have, geolocation software, global money transfer. These people are sitting in these poor countries, the cartels are, and saying, we can make millions of American kids. They are so naive and so stupid, they will never check this out. Well, I'll tell you what, help me spread the word around the world. If you have any connections to corporate trainers, to media, we have to get this information around the world. To lose 44 young guys and not have PSAs going on the internet, on the television, on the internet every 3 or 4 hours is insane. How many kids do we have to lose before we start figuring out ways to talk to our kids about it? And that is really the key. Sit down, have a calm conversation. Look, I know that you think I'm going to take your phone. I'm not taking your phone, okay? But I've learned something today, and I want to share it with you. I have learned that the world is a whole new world out there, and I guess we all knew it, but I had never really thought about how that might play out in our family. And I want to bulletproof our family so nobody can bamboozle, how do you like that word? Bamboozle us, okay? Or take advantage of you, or even threaten and blackmail you. Because with artificial intelligence and deep fakes, Nobody will even have to send the photo or the image or the video or the live stream or whatever it is. They won't have to send it because they can just work the odds. You see, what is happening is tens of thousands of people are pretending to be your friend. They're also doing the romance scams for grandma and grandpa. If you want to know what it's all about and where those people are that are tricking our kids, go onto YouTube and put in scam farms, SCAM, scam farms, and learn for yourself. You see, these cartels aren't just cheating us and wanting to destroy your child's life. They're enslaving people, poor people all over the world that are forced to do this kind of front work. They don't want to do it either, but if they don't, they get beaten and raped and robbed. In a couple of cases, they've actually been murdered. And so what happens is they hand these people a profile of our kids. And that's the same profile I want you to look at first. If you do that and you sit down with your child in a loving and concerned way and say, let me share with you what I've learned today. Let's do this. Let's figure out what somebody from Cambodia or Nigeria can learn about us. And now let's take steps to get that off the internet. I would tell you to never, ever, ever put a young child's photo. I see it all the time. And grandma and grandpa are so excited. I know it. I get it. I understand it. But do you know pedophiles lift those photos off the internet and then they put child sexual abuse materials on that photo? And even though your child hasn't been abused, their photo has been. And, in some cases, they'll blackmail the parent to get that photo back. But more important, that photo will be out there for the rest of their lives. It is a changed world out there. So I'm going to ask you to help me. What can you do about it? Well, this is not a situation where you need to go to a 6-week training and then go out and do gobs of public speaking. Now, if you want to do that, fine, and I'll be happy to see what we can do to support that and help you get trained and like that. But what you can do is start with your own family. Start with your youth group at church. Start with your Boy Scout group. Start with your sports groups, your soccer teams, and go out and share with each and every one how financial sextortion works. And every one of them will say, oh, it's okay, I'm going to know. Well, we have to overcome that denial, mom and dad. And the way to do that is not wag the finger and scream and yell. The way to do that is say, you know what? I have learned that more than 5.5 billion people are online with us. And some of them, some percentage of them are bad guys. And I don't think all 5.5 billion are going to try to reach me and my kid, but it only takes one. It only takes one that is armed with all the information about your family, that gets your kid in a weak moment. Maybe they're really, really excited about something or they're really depressed about something. But some weak moment, this cute little thing will come into their life. And the next thing they know, they send a nude or they send something provocative. It doesn't even have to be a nude. It can just be kind of a sexual discussion to get the young man stimulated and off guard. We have to stop and start to share with our kids that anybody who's sending that stuff to you is not going to end well. They are not your friend. You don't know them. They like to act like you know them and they know you, but they don't know you. If somebody wants to get closer to you because they're a friend of the friend, you tell them, stop right now because I'm going to contact the friend and we'll see what you know. Other than that, give me our code word because I have code words with my friends. Don't post the code word because they'll get it. But think about that. I want you as a family to sit down and realize just how vulnerable you are to being exploited by anyone in another country. Now, there are plenty of pedophiles here in the U.S. Sextortion's been around forever, but it's changed dramatically as we live on a globally connected world, in a world of AI and AI profiles. And anybody in the world now can look like they know you. So arm yourself, sit down as a family and say, oh my God, look at all the stuff about us online. Anybody could make out like I'm their friend. And bulletproof, especially your young men. Anybody that's coming on hot and heavy, what they're doing is trying to get you to send something compromising. But this is a globally connected world, and it will be there forever. Our children need to begin to think in terms of digital reputation, digital future, digital empathy, digital morality. Remember that whatever you send goes online forever. And it can go to your new employer. It can go to the military if you're trying to get in there. It can go out to any kind of college that you're trying to get into. And it can go to your girlfriend's mother and father. Now you explain that, okay? This is playing for keeps now, folks. It is called financial sextortion. If you don't believe me, look it up, okay? Google it, and you will learn. Now, I've done several podcasts on this, but it occurred to me today that the best way to do this is for me to first get all the parents educated. To see this last case and listen to that grieving father say, I've never heard of this. It is 2 words, financial sextortion. And it's 5 words, really. Financial sextortion has led to suicide. I think that's 6. We don't want that to happen to anyone we know. And it's easy to cure. Let's get out our megaphones and tell everyone you know. When you go to dinner, tell them about it. Share this podcast with them if you want. Send the link. We want this link to this podcast to go around the world. And let's see how fast it can go around the United States. We have to educate first the parents, and then the parents need to sit down and help the child overcome the denial. And I'm talking about that child that is 6'2" and 17 years old, and you don't check his phone anymore because you're pretty sure he's in charge of his life. Too many parents have thought that because they didn't know the word financial sextortion. This is absolutely heartbreaking, but it doesn't have to be. I'm on a quest to get those words around the world. If you're listening to me, you can be the leader that does it. Take it off to your youth group and take it off to your parents and let everyone know. If you want a training on it, I can probably do a Zoom. I can't travel all over the United States. I already have a full schedule, but I'll work in a Zoom for you so that you can be a trainer in your own area and that you can be able to talk about this one subject. Maybe you can't talk about all subjects, but if I can get groups of people to listen and spread the word and set up trainings. We do have 8 people across the U.S. that go out and speak. Tennessee, Arizona, I can't even remember all the places, Iowa, Connecticut, people that can go out and speak. But we can do a heck of a lot of training by Zoom. And you can share this podcast. I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope that you will take the time to think this out. It's so easy to go, it isn't going to happen to my kid. And this seems kind of melodramatic and like that. I can tell you that the parents of 44 grieving parents of kids who were the most incredible kids of their life, they were the last kid in their neighborhood that anybody thought would take their own life. They weren't depressed. They weren't in trouble. They were super achievers, homecoming kings, sports stars. They had scholarships. They had already picked out their college. Everything going for them. They were the last kid that anybody thought to talk to. That's got to be the first kid we decide to talk to. Enough is enough. We do not ever have to put up with this to ever lose another child. This is called financial sextortion. It is coming from all over the world in the poorest countries, and they use their people to pretend to be our kids' friend because our kids will use friend and friend of a friend, someone who knows me, as their criteria. We need to change that. And we need to make leaders out of our kids. You know, one of the things that I thought about is I woke up this morning with a fierce determination to get this message around the world. I thought this message might be the most important message on earth. And the reason I say that is that it is how we prepare this generation of kids. This is the first generation in all of history of young people that are living in a globally connected world. And what are we doing to prepare them? And why it is so important is how we prepare this generation is going to set the stage for the next generation and the next generation. You know, if you have a 15-year-old son, think about the 11-year-old daughter. Think about all the technology that's happened in the last 3 years and think about what it's going to be like by 2030. We got to get started and we got to take care of it now. It is the most important conversation you will ever have with your teenager, and I hope that you will have it. My name is Opal Singleton. My email address is opal, O-P-A-L, at millionkids.org, not .com, opal at millionkids.org. You can write to me, and I'll write back. It might take me 2 or 3 days. It's busy, but I will do my best to do that. If you have a child that is being blackmailed, shut off all conversation with that person, screenshot it, shut the computer down, and take that young person directly to your cyber crimes unit of your police department and report it. Do not alert the predator that you know. Okay, this can be taking place on any kind of app, and especially on gaming sites like Discord. That's very, very common on all kinds of apps that are out there, on all kinds of AI chatbots. Is taking place everywhere. We have to take this seriously. Thank you for listening. My name is Opal Singleton, and I'll see you on the next podcast.